Imagine this. You are alone. No house. No flashlight. No street lights. No phone. Just darkness. A darkness so complete that you can't even see your own hand in front of your face. Now imagine hearing something move. A branch snaps. Leaves rustle. Something is out there. But you don't know what. And that's exactly what life was like for most of human history. Today, darkness is an inconvenience. For ancient humans, darkness could kill you before sunrise. Every night, the world transformed into something terrifying. During the day, your eyes could spot danger. You could see predators approaching. You could watch the movement of animals. You could navigate the landscape. But when the sun disappeared, all of that vanished. The human eye is surprisingly weak in darkness. Compared to many predators, we're practically blind. Lions can see far better at night. Wolves can see better. Big cats can see better. Even many smaller predators had an advantage once the sun went down. Ancient humans knew this, not because they understood biology, but because they experienced it, night after night, generation after generation. Imagine sitting beside a small fire 50,000 years ago. Beyond that tiny circle of light is endless darkness. You hear sounds, footsteps, growls, cracking branches, but you can't see what's making them. And when humans cannot see danger, something interesting happens. The brain starts creating it. Psychologists call this threat detection. Your brain would rather imagine danger that isn't there than ignore danger that is. Think about it. If your ancestors heard a strange noise in the dark and assumed it was nothing, they might not survive. But if they assumed it was a predator, even if they were wrong, they lived. Over thousands of generations, evolution rewarded caution. Not bravery, not optimism, caution. The people who ignored strange sounds in the dark often didn't live long enough to pass on their genes. This is why even today, many people feel uncomfortable walking through a dark house at night. Logically, you know nothing is there. But another part of your brain isn't so sure. That ancient survival system is still operating. The same one that helped your ancestors survive. And it gets even stranger. Studies show that humans are far more likely to see faces, figures, and human-like shapes in darkness. Have you ever looked into a dark room and thought you saw someone standing there, only to realize it was a chair or a pile of clothes? Ancient humans experienced this constantly. Their brains were trying to identify threats before it was too late. Sometimes that threat became a predator. Sometimes it became a spirit. Sometimes it became a monster. And that's where fear of the dark began changing human culture itself. Because darkness didn't just hide predators. It hid explanations. When people couldn't explain something, they created stories. A strange sound in the darkness? Maybe a spirit. A shadow moving between trees? Maybe an ancestor. A pair of glowing eyes watching from the night? Maybe something supernatural. Long before science existed, darkness became the perfect home for myths. And across the world, something fascinating happened. Different cultures created different monsters, but almost all of them lived in the dark. The darkness became humanity's first mystery. And mysteries are powerful, because the human brain hates not knowing. In fact, uncertainty can be more frightening than the truth itself. A visible lion is scary. An invisible lion somewhere in the darkness is terrifying. That's because your imagination fills in the gaps. And imagination is often worse than reality. But there was another reason darkness terrified our ancestors. One that changed human history forever. Because every night, darkness brought something even stranger than predators. Dreams. But darkness didn't end when ancient humans closed their eyes. In many ways, it became even stranger. Imagine you're sitting beside a fire. The night is silent. Eventually, you fall asleep. And suddenly, you're somewhere else. Maybe you're hunting. Maybe you're running. Maybe you're talking to someone who died years ago. Everything feels real. Completely real. Then you wake up. And you're back beside the fire. Now think about this from the perspective of an ancient human. You don't know what dreams are. You don't know how the brain works. You don't know about REM sleep. All you know is what you experienced. And what you experienced felt real. For many ancient humans, the darkness became a gateway. A doorway between worlds. During the day, they lived in one reality. At night, they entered another. This is one reason why darkness became associated with spirits, ancestors, and supernatural forces. Many anthropologists believe that some of humanity's earliest spiritual beliefs may have emerged from experiences that happened in the dark. Before humans built temples, they were already trying to understand the mysteries of the night. Think about how powerful that would be. You dream about your dead father. He speaks to you. He gives advice. He warns you about danger. The next day, you tell your tribe. Now imagine hundreds of people having similar experiences, generation after generation. Eventually, a powerful idea begins to form. Maybe the dead aren't truly gone. Maybe they exist somewhere else. Maybe darkness connects the two worlds. And suddenly, darkness becomes more than a survival challenge. It becomes sacred. Many ancient cultures believed that the night was filled with unseen beings, not because they were irrational, but because they were trying to explain experiences that felt completely real. In some tribes, shamans claimed they could communicate with spirits during the night. Others believed ancestors visited them through dreams. Some believed the darkness itself was alive, watching, listening, waiting. And if that sounds strange, remember something. Even today, millions of people feel different emotions at night. The same room can feel normal during the day, but unsettling after sunset. Nothing changed. The room is identical, yet it feels different. Why? Because darkness changes the way the brain processes information. When visual information decreases, uncertainty increases. And uncertainty activates ancient survival systems. Your brain becomes more alert, more cautious, more imaginative. Every sound becomes important. Every shadow becomes suspicious. Every movement demands attention. Scientists have discovered that humans are naturally more vigilant in darkness. Heart rates can increase. Stress responses become stronger. Attention becomes hyper-focused. In other words, your brain behaves as if danger might be nearby. Because for most of human history, danger usually was nearby. Predator didn't need to attack every night. It only needed to attack once. Evolution remembers rare disasters far more than countless peaceful nights. It only needed to attack once. Evolution doesn't care about comfort. It cares about survival. And survival favored people who respected the darkness. People who stayed close to the fire. People who listened carefully. People who assumed the worst. Those people survived long enough to have children. And those children inherited the same cautious brains, including you. In a way, your fear of darkness is ancient knowledge. Knowledge written into your nervous system by thousands of generations. But darkness didn't just influence survival. It influenced storytelling. Look at almost every culture on Earth. Monsters emerge after sunset. Ghosts appear at night. Demons hide in shadows. Witches travel through darkness. Spirits become active when the sun disappears. This pattern appears again and again, across different continents, different languages, different civilizations. And that's probably not a coincidence, because darkness was humanity's greatest unknown. And humans have always filled unknown spaces with stories. Stories gave shape to fear. They transformed invisible threats into something understandable. A monster is terrifying, but it's still easier to understand than uncertainty. The unknown is often the scariest thing of all. That's why darkness became the perfect stage for imagination. And imagination became one of humanity's greatest strengths. The same imagination that created monsters also created art, religion, myths, civilizations. The fear of darkness may have helped inspire some of the most important ideas humans ever created. But there was one final reason darkness terrified our ancestors. A reason that still affects you every single day. Because hidden inside the darkness was a psychological trap that evolution never solved. And once you notice it, you'll never think about darkness the same way again. Because hidden inside the darkness was a psychological trap that evolution never solved. But here's the strange part. The darkness that terrified your ancestors never disappeared. It followed you across thousands of generations. Across empires, across civilizations, across time itself. Today, you live in a world filled with light. Streetlights illuminate cities. Phones glow in your hands. Entire buildings remain bright throughout the night. For the first time in human history, many people can go weeks without experiencing true darkness. And yet, the fear remains. Why? Because evolution moves slowly. Technology changes in decades. Evolution changes in thousands of years. We changed the world around us far faster than we could change ourselves. Your environment transformed. Your brain didn't. Deep inside your nervous system is a machine built for a different world. A world where darkness meant uncertainty. A world where uncertainty meant danger. And that ancient programming still influences your behavior today. Think about what happens when you're home alone at night. You hear a sound. Immediately, your brain wants an explanation. Was it the wind? Person? An animal? Something else? Notice what happens before you know the answer. Your imagination begins working. This is one of the most powerful features of the human mind. The ability to predict, to imagine, to prepare. But prediction has a side effect. When information is missing, the brain fills in the blanks. And darkness provides very little information. This creates a fascinating psychological effect. Researchers call it ambiguity. The less information you have, the more your brain must guess. And when survival is involved, the brain usually guesses pessimistically. Not because it's broken, because that's what helped your ancestors survive. Imagine hearing movement in a bush 50,000 years ago. There are two possibilities. Option 1, you assume it's harmless. If you're wrong, you die. Option 2, you assume it's dangerous. If you're wrong, you waste a little energy. Evolution strongly favors option 2. Over time, this created brains that are naturally biased toward caution. That's why darkness feels different. Your brain becomes a detective, searching, scanning, predicting, preparing, even when no danger exists. And this doesn't only affect fear. It affects creativity too. Many scientists believe that the same imagination that helped humans survive also helped humans innovate. The ability to imagine unseen threats is closely connected to the ability to imagine unseen possibilities. In other words, the brain that feared monsters in the dark is the same brain that imagined the future. The same brain that invented tools. The same brain that created language. The same brain that built civilizations. Darkness may have frightened humanity, but it also helped shape humanity, because every mystery forces the mind to explore. And darkness was the greatest mystery our ancestors ever faced. For thousands of years, humans gathered around fires, telling stories, sharing warnings, creating myths, passing knowledge from one generation to the next. Outside the firelight was uncertainty. Inside the firelight was community. In many ways, civilization itself began around those circles of light. The first classrooms, the first stories, and perhaps even the first religions were born beside a fire. A small group of humans pushing back against an ocean of darkness. And perhaps that's why fire became so important. Fire didn't just provide warmth. Provided certainty. It expanded the world humans could understand. Every flame represented control, safety, knowledge, hope, a tiny victory against the unknown. Even today, people are drawn to campfires, candles, fireplaces. Something ancient awakens when we watch a flame dance in the dark. It's a feeling our ancestors would immediately recognize. A reminder that you're safe, at least for now. But here's the final twist. Here's the strange truth. The darkness was never really the enemy. Predators were dangerous. Storms were dangerous. The cold was dangerous. But darkness itself was only the absence of information. What humans truly feared wasn't darkness. It was uncertainty, the unknown. The possibility that something might be hiding where they couldn't see. And maybe that's still true today. Most modern fears work the same way. Fear of the future. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of death. At their core, they're all fears of uncertainty. Questions without answers. Just like the darkness our ancestors stared into thousands of years ago. So the next time you walk through a dark room, or feel uneasy in the middle of the night, remember this. That feeling is ancient, older than cities, older than writing, older than history itself. It is the echo of countless generations who survived because they respected the darkness that surrounded their camps, the darkness that filled their dreams, the darkness that shaped their myths, and ultimately the darkness that helped create the human mind. Because long before humans feared monsters in the dark taught humans to imagine them. And that ability to imagine the unseen may be the reason you're human at all.